Hey everyone, welcome back to Hacky Lessons for another One Piece deck profile, and today I am showing you my red-purple Luffy deck. I've been playing this basically the entire OPO5 format with the idea that I would play it at Nats. So the list I'm going to show you is slightly changed from what I did take to Nats, just slightly. I'm not entirely happy with how I went at Nats. I did really good against my hard matchups and kind of choked on the easier matchups, and that was just, I don't know, the occasion got to me. A little bit of, practiced it a lot, and then, sort of didn't play to the conditions, if you will. But anyway, it's still a strong deck. I do top locals with it a few times, so despite just really not rising to the occasion at Nationals, I really like this deck. I really find it fun. And the one reason I want to show you this list specifically is because it's different from most red-purple lists you'll see. So a lot of people do the same bullshit, and that's fine. It gets results, but I like to be creative with my deck building, and I like my decks to be fun. And so what I've come up with is very Straw Hat heavy, and is both for thematic reasons and for practical reasons. But my main aim with this deck is to get to 10 Don ASAP and play Gear 5 Luffy. So if you don't remember what the leader does, if you have either 0 or 8 or more Don, you can put a Don from your Don deck in active mode. So that means when you play Gear 5, you're down to 0 and you can get that Don back. Or if you reach 8 Don, you can extend your turn just a little bit by getting an extra Don there. Or even if you're at 9 Don and you minus a Don during that turn, you can get that Don back. So let's take a look at that list. And remember, he's only got 3 life, so that is very specific to how I've built this deck and how I play this deck. So I've only got 3 life, so I defend pretty hard. Harder than most people might, but it's how my playstyle suits, I suppose, because I don't want to get too much lower. 2 or less, 2 life is alright, because that puts you in range for radical beams, but other than that, yeah. So the first card is a little bit of a wild card, you could say. This is the 1000 Sunny. It's only a 1-of, and that is so it doesn't get clunky. And it's really only there for certain matchups, specifically yellow matchups. I find it helps a lot. But if you open that in your hand, keep the hand. Play that turn 1. It's there for the rest of the game to give you that little power boost. And then you get to like your Gear 5 turn, for example, and you would play Gear 5, and then you'd get your Don back and ramp it and then attach to your leader. So that would be usually a 7,000 attack swing, but with the Sunny it's 8,000. That's just that little bit more pressure. So moving on from Sunny, obviously we have Nami searches for our Straw Hat deck. I like a 2-2 split of this art because I like this art the best. I like the Wano outfits, but yes, it's just Nami. She searches, and she's always handy to keep on board. You only need to attach 3 Don to her to make her a 5k attack, and that's just like playing a 3-cost Zoro, really, except it won't be as defendable. But anyway, your ideal early game play is to play Zoro. He obviously ramps when he attacks. It only works if you have at 3 or less life, which is easy to forget the stipulation in this deck because you're always at 3 or less life, unless category heals you for some reason. But generally speaking, yeah, he always works. So if you play him on turn 2, and then he's good to attack the next turn, and then when you go to that next turn, I always play him with the understanding that he's probably only going to attack once and then the opponent's going to try and kill him. And that's fine. You got 2 options after he attacks. If you manage your Don correctly so that you have 5 Don, you can play Jinbei as a blocker. And that means if they want to attack Zoro, they need to be attacking for at least 6,000 or have 2 attacks to do. So that just makes him a little bit easier to survive. Or the other step is to play Miss or Sunday instead. So she costs 5, and on play will ramp a Don, and if you have 6 or more Don, you'll draw a card. If you play it from hand, you're always get to draw a card. It's only when you play her from trigger that you might not. If you trigger her too early, or indeed if you trigger her with because she minuses 2 Don on trigger, but then she does put the Don back. But if you trigger her on 6 Don, you're minus 2 Don. She'll put a Don back, but then you'll be at 5, so you won't get that draw. So there are times where you will hit that in life, and you're like, do I want the body on board, or would I rather play her from my hand and get the draw and be a bit more ahead of my Don curve? Don curve's important because you're trying to get to 10 Don as fast as possible. So now we've got some removal, and you're going to start to notice a bit of an accidental simping situation. So 4 copies of Orobi. She hits 3 costs or less if you have 8 or more Don, so she's not the greatest piece of removal, but she is great because she's Straw Hat searchable, 1000 Sun you can power up, and yeah, and then you'll see some more Robin action here. And this is a 1 cost and it only kills something with 1000 power or less, so that doesn't seem great, but when you consider what's meta, it's pretty good. So you're playing against Sakazuki, they got Rebecca blockers on board, boom, easily dealt with. If you're playing against yellow and they have a Shirahoshi and you know they're going to Katakuri it back into life, get rid of that shit with Robin. So I've got 3 types of Robin in this deck, so it's coincidence, but she is my favourite Straw Hat. Obvious purple staple here, you got 4 copies of Law, so you can't go past it, really, you really can't. Your opponent has 7 cards in hand, play this, boom, they've got 5. And even just the threat of it is something that the opponent has to worry about. You ask cards in hand and like, oh shit, he's about to play it. So now we're getting into the boss monsters. Now this has changed over the meta. At the moment, it is 2 copies of Shanks. Now obviously a lot of players will play Whitebeard, and I don't really like that, and here is why. So a lot of the times you're playing against Sakazuki, which I will add is a good matchup for this deck, but you still have to play it right. So if you play Whitebeard against Sakazuki, they're just going to spend the next turn killing it, and it's like, okay, whatever. What a waste. You know, they waste a lot of resources doing that, but they won't attack your leader that turn anyway, so the little power boost you get is whatever. But if you play Shanks, you get in a big attack, they might still spend all of their resources killing it, but you've put in a big attack. And so that's just a little bit faster, which is what I like. And then obviously, as mentioned earlier, the main card in this deck is the Gear 5 Luffy. Unfortunately, I don't have any old arts yet, but I will, strive to get some. But yeah, so you play him for 10, minus 10 Don, remove your entire board, and then at the end of this turn, you get another turn. So you play him, you use your leader ability to get a Don back, and then he has this pay 1 to put a Don in active mode. So you will be back at 2 Don straight away, and then your leader can attack for 7 or 8 if you have 1000 Sunny on board. And then you go into the next turn, you get 2 more Don, so you're at 4 now. You use this ability again, now you're at 5, but you have 1 rested, so you've got 4 active Don. And then, so you have this to attack and this to attack. So this can attack to 10, or what you'll most likely want to do is put it at 9, and leave that 1 Don inactive just in case. And it depends on what the board state is. And then you swing with this with 12, or if they have a blocker, then you can play Diable Jambe. So Diable Jambe is at 2. I wouldn't put it at less because you want to see it. I wouldn't put it at more because it would be way too clunky. And then it just makes a Straw Hat unblockable. So this on this is insane. 12k unblockable. If you get your main attempt, the main thing you want to do before you play Gear 5 is have your opponent down to either 1 or 2 life. 2 life is a bit, but 1 life is pretty lethal range because you get them down to 1 life, play this, attack for 7 or 8, go to the next turn, and then you've got 2 more attacks waiting, and if they have a blocker, make it unblockable. And just to round up the rest of the deck profile, we'll go through all the counter power cards. So I've got 10 2k counters in the deck, which is fine. Some decks I might prefer more, but in this deck, your leader is 6,000 power, and most of the time, your opponent's going to attack you 6,000 at a time. They're just trying to reduce your hand so you'll be countering with 1Ks. So 10 2K counters is fine. So 4 copies of this Luffy, the promo Luffy. It may come up on occasion that you'll want to play him, but not very often. Maybe in a deck against Zoro or whatever. Just something where you need a bit more board swarmy. Enel, maybe, but Enel is a little bit... They've got too much removal that can easily hit it. 3 copies of Usopp, similar situation. He can be good against decks like Zoro or Enel. Obviously, we already got Rush Shank, so we do have some Rush in the deck. But just as a break in case of emergency, Rush is Frankie. He's not very good. He costs 5. He only gets Rush if you attach a Don, so you've spent 6 Don for a 5,000 power Rush. And he only gets the Rush if you have 8 or more Don. So, very much only in case of emergency. But then we go into our event counters. 3 copies of Radical Beam. I don't think 4 is necessary because, like I said earlier, your opponents most of the time will just attack you for 6k, and then you're like waiting for this for the right opportunity, and it never comes up. And then 2 copies of Jet Gatling. If you have too many Gear 5s in your hand, you could trash one of them. If you have Sunny in your hand and it's way too late to play it, you can trash him. Sunny is very much like, there are turns where you'll just have nothing to do if you're done. You could just attach all to your leader and put an unnecessary big swing in, or you can play Sunny then. But you get to the point where, let's say you're at 10 Don and you've got Gear 5 in your hand, you can't play it because you need to use all 10 of those Don to play Luffy. But that is the list. Find it great fun. Obviously, like I said at the top, it doesn't have your usual suspects like Queen Blocker, McGallan, 7 Cost Kid, Whitebeard. I don't care for that shit. That's a lot of clunky stuff. It's in terms of no counter power, and I don't want to minus Don more than I need to, because like obviously Law minuses Don, but you get enough value that it's worth doing. But generally speaking, I don't want to minus Don at all because I want to be at 10 straight away. So that's the list. If you try it out, I hope you enjoy it. I will add. We're pretty close to the end of the OP05 meta, so starting to think about what I would change in the next set. The main thing is the promo Zoro with Banish. That's great. I'd probably swap Shanks out for 2 copies of him, and then maybe consider dropping 1 copy of Miss All Sunday to put a 3rd Zoro in. I don't know. Yes, but my problem is I'll be away during pre-release, so I might have a hard time getting the friggin' promo. But anyway, that will do it for now. I will see you soon for some more One Piece content, so make sure to subscribe. I'll see you